Okay, Habakkuk chapter 1. The message which the prophet Habakkuk saw. O Yahuwah, till when shall I cry and you not hear? I cry to you violence, and you do not save. Why do you show me wickedness and cause me to see perversity? For ruin and violence are before me, and there is strife and contention arises. Therefore the Torah ceases, and right ruling never goes forth. For the wrong hem in the righteous, so that right ruling comes out twisted. Look among the nations and see, and be amazed, be amazed. For a work is being wrought in your days which you would not believe if it were told. See, I am raising up the Kasdim, a bitter and hasty nation who is going through the breadth of the earth to possess dwelling places that are not theirs. They are frightening and fearsome. Their right ruling and their exaltation proceed from themselves. Their horses shall be swifter than leopards, and more fierce than evening wolves. And their horsemen shall charge ahead, and their horsemen come from afar. They fly as the eagle rushing to eat. All of them come for violence. The direction of their faces is like the east wind, and they gather captives like sand. And they scoff at sovereigns, and princes are a laughing matter to them. They laugh at every stronghold, for they pile up earth and seize it. Then shall he pass on as a wind, and transgress, and be guilty, and ascribe this power to his mighty one. Are you not from everlasting, O Yahuwah, my Elohim, my placed apart one? You do not die. O Yahuwah, you have appointed them for right ruling, O Rock. You have established them for reproof. You whose eyes are too clean to see evil, you are not able to look on wrong. Why do you look on those who act treacherously? Keep silent when the wrong devours one more righteous than he. And how would you make men like fish of the sea, like creeping creatures that have no ruler over them? The wicked foe has pulled up all them up with a hook, caught them in his net, and gathers them in his dragnet. Therefore he rejoices and exults. Therefore he slaughters to his net and burns incense to his dragnet. For by them is his portion fat, and his food is rich. Is he therefore to keep on emptying his net and killing nations without sparing?
More good news from the minor prophets.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. What I want to talk about here is Habakkuk's name. Um, it comes from H2265, which means to embrace, and it comes from the root word H2263, Habak, which means to embrace, clasp, fold hands in idleness. And when I added up the gematria of his name, it's 216. And I just thought it was interesting that it reminded me of Strong's number H216, which is Or, which is light, which is what came upon the face of the earth when Yah first brought in the light to divide it from the darkness. He brought light in. And the scriptures that I have with that, in case anybody is interested, I've got Genesis 29:13, 33:4, Genesis 48:10, 2 Kings 4:16, Proverbs 4:8, and Proverbs 5:20, Song of Solomon 2 verses 5 through 6, and 8:3, and then Lamentations 4:5.
So when I look at chapter one, of course it's dual, and I think Habakkuk is watching the Yahudim be destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar, right? But also when I read it, all I can see is the Great Tribulation. So especially verse 5, look among the nations and watch. Be utterly astounded, for I will work a work in your days which you would not believe, though it were told to you. So this is referencing, of course, the times that none shall be like it, no, not from the beginning till the end of when man has been on the earth. And yes, for the Yahudim, it was a terrible time and it was equal in horror, but it was specifically Israel, right? But this time, and I think it's interesting that he says, look among the nations and watch, because all nations will be involved with it this time.
So I'm reading the King James, and the word I in verse 5 is italicized. So they admit in that verse that they have inserted it. But the I in verse 6 is not italicized, but it's also been inserted there if you look at it in the Hebrews. So to your point, Mitzi, I do think that this is dual, and the chime of tribulation is Yah allowing this tribulation to be like put upon us on not by it's not from him. His wrath that's coming is coming from him. The tribulation we're going to live through is not from him. And I would argue that it is this Babylonian Assyrian leadership, if you will.
Under Satan, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Satan's wrath, or Satan's wrath that Yah allows him to do for his purpose. But yeah. Yeah,
And I just wanted to share too that the word Chaldeans, when you look at that word, if you look at the what is this here? It's the Hebrew 3778. And if you go into the Gesenius, is that how you say it? Hebrew Chaldee lexicon, and you look at this word, it, it just the inhabitants of Babylonia, also called, it lists a bunch of different places that it's in scripture. The country is called the Chaldees. Trying to see if there's any other. It's in a wider sense, the name of Chaldea also comprehended Mesopotamia, which was inhabited in part by the Chaldeans. Ur of the Chaldees, a city of Mesopotamia. The Chaldeans being said to enter Palestine in their eruptions from the north and not from the east through Syria. It need not surprise anyone that they had to go around the desert of Arabia. No other way was possible. Ancient abodes of the Chaldeans, which appear to have been in Assyria, and on the mode of reconciling the accounts of the sacred and profane writers. See what I have stated more than in large, well, and just some more references in here. But okay, here I thought this was interesting too. Perhaps both this and in the Hebrew, the form Chaldeus be formed from a more ancient form, which is still preserved in the name the Kurds. And from the Chaldeans, they were greatly addicted to astrology. And the name is also applied to astrologers and magicians, and as incited in Daniel. Um, but I just thought that was so interesting, if you apply that addiction to astrology to where we are today and how much money we give to NASA in order to study astrology and the stars and all that sort of stuff. I just thought that that was A,
And
re-
aren't
a really good way to put it, addicted to astrology.
right, and aren't the Kurds associated with the whirling dervishes?
I,
I
I
I
think you're right.
wondered about that. That immediately came to my mind when you mentioned the Kurds, where the men they'll spin. They'll spin and they spin and they spin until they reach the spiritual climax or whatever. Um, I don't know if that's a Kurdish thing, a Kurdish tradition. I could be wrong, but it was just what came into my mind.
Yeah, I just saw, I think it did say it's a Turkish. I mean, Kurds are,
Yeah,
right?
they're
I mean,
Turkish.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
Let me see. Whirling dervishes.
It's a proverbially associated with dervishes, best known in the West by the practices or performance of the Turkish,
Yes. Let's see. Whirling dervishes.
a Muslim practice of meditation.
Sufi. Sufi whirling. Sufi turning. Hmm.
So this is usually done by performing a lifestyle which decreases bodily function to a minimum in order to attain what would be called esoteric knowledge in Western terminology.
That's Kabbalah, is it not?
Wow.
Which is Babylonian mysticism.
Yeah, and it says their most popular practices is Sama, which is associated with the 13th century mystic Rumi.
And this is interesting too. Spinning one's body in repetitive circles, which has been seen as a symbolic imitation of planets in the solar system orbiting the sun.
Well, isn't that what they do at
Wow.
Mecca?
Hmm.
They spin in circles around their black cube there. And so continuing in verse 6 here, to me, the Chaldeans are Japheth, the bitter and hasty nation which marches through the breadth of the earth to possess dwelling places that are not theirs. Look who, and if you go back to Genesis 9, um, in verse 26, and this is Noah's curse on Canaan and then blessing the Elohim of Shem. So it says, Blessed be Yahweh, the Elohim of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant. May Elohim enlarge Japheth, and may he dwell in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant. So we've studied this before, and if you go back to the original Hebrew, it's almost like so Japheth is not supposed to dwell in the tents of Shem. So remember the lots, they're supposed to stay in the lots of the land that Noah gave them, and they would be cursed if they tried to take the land of other brothers. And this is exactly so he's prophesying that Japheth would do this, would live in the tents or the land of Shem and Ham. And not that they wouldn't live in their own, but they would spread out and start taking over. And that's exactly what Habakkuk is saying in verse 6. And you could call me a squatter, right? I believe I'm part of Japheth, and here I sit in Ham's territory, southern U.S. So, and that's what Japheth has done, basically taken their own land and then taken over parts of the world that is not theirs. So they're going to be cursed because of that. But anyway, just throwing that out there. And I personally believe the statue that Daniel saw and the eagle in Second Esdras are the world ruling powers once Israel falls. And it all points back to Japheth, the brother that's trying to take over the world, so to speak.
The one who is allotted with the least amount of land, right?
Yeah.
So you could see, his jealousy.
Yeah, and it was the northern cold kind of land.
Yeah. Yeah, he wasn't too overjoyed about his own allotment. But then again, when we look at Canaan taking over Shem's territory, I mean, look what happened there. He got cursed because he took it over, more than likely knowing that that is where Yah keeps his eyes, which is on Jerusalem.
Verse 8 sounds like Joel language. In other words, when the pit opens up, there's that kind of language there.
Right. And when I see their horses shall be swifter than leopards, um, we see their devices, right? Their drones, their robots.
Robots.
Yeah, yes. And they will be swifter than man. Man can only run for so long, but those robots can run after you for hours before its packs run low. And they've even shown that to us. Um,
And fly as the eagles. That makes me think of drones as eagles. It's not really eagles.
right.
Right.
And think about the flying crafts that they have
Hmm.
as well. But in my humble opinion too, I also see verses 8 through 11 as being dual as well. I see it dual as in speaking about the fallen and also the demonic creatures that live underneath us. They too have their own technology, which is beyond our understanding, our comprehension. Um, all of them, verse 9, all of them come for violence. The direction of their faces is like the east wind, and they gather captives like sand. So when you think about it, how how often over time have we seen people disappear? We see it all the time today, but we also think about how many times have we seen children ending up on the back of milk cartons, which it's just a horrific travesty. Um, Going missing for their for their rituals. And then when we get into verse 10, and they scoff at sovereigns, and princes are a laughing matter to them. They laugh at every stronghold, for they pile up earth and seize it. I see this as, again, this is the fallen living underneath us or even above, and they are the ones who actually have control of the earth. When you think about it, it's not man who has dominion over the earth, it's these angels that actually do. And they're working through man as they're taking over the earth, right? I know it sounds crazy, but that's just what's been happening. It's been happening for thousands of years. It's just that now we're beginning to understand what's been going on underneath our feet and how it's been working above. And if there's any movie that gives us any indication of it, it's the time machine. If you guys have ever seen that movie, it's the time machine where the Eloi live underground or the Eloi, I think, live above ground and their overlords live under the ground. And those living above the ground are basically feed or food for the people living under the ground. Um, and they scoff at sovereigns, and princes are a laughing matter to them. It is just simply for the fact that man has been deceived by these higher entities and have allowed themselves to be possessed by these entities. And so basically they are literally they're cast aside, they're laughed at, um, because
Well,
really
they're
they're not
their
fools.
minions, their
Yes,
tools. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah, and the LXX says that, and he shall be at ease with kings and princesses. Princes are his toys, and he shall mock at every stronghold.
yep.
So
They
here,
he Yeah, we think, as human beings, we think we've got our physical strongholds and they're working, but they're not. The enemy has had 6,000 years to get to know what man is like and to perfect his weaponry against him, whether it be a physical weapon or it be a mental weapon. And this is in verse 11, something that I started thinking about, and I sincerely believe that the fallen angels worship Hasatan. When we read, then he shall pass on as wind and transgress and not be guilty, and ascribe this power to his mighty one. Well, who is the mighty one who is the deceiver of all? That would be Hasatan. He's the one that's been moving and shaking everything above and below.
And it sounds like to me, too, the duality. I agree with you, Christina. And then, of course, whoever the beast is, he will be given over to Satan as well.
Revelation
During,
13:4.
yeah. But yes, as Satan has counterfeited Yah's hierarchy and everything. Yeah. And he has wanted to usurp Yah's throne because he wants the worship and adoration. So he's created his little counterfeit version where he is worshiped
Yeah.
by the demons, by the fallen angels, and by all the folks that have signed on to that occultic doctrine, be it the rulers of this earth, be it Hollywood, be it we've talked about that. So,
I mean, in Yah's true, legitimate hierarchy was here on earth, there was a high priest who did serve, who was appointed through the lineage of Levi, through Aaron, and John the Baptist was the last one, and John the Baptist baptized Yahusha, giving over his power to the true high priest and king. And just like you said, we're living through this fake satanic hierarchy of minions and power moves to Satan ultimately for the beast system.
it's interesting. The LXX says, then shall he change his spirit, and
Mm-hmm.
he shall pass through and make an atonement, saying, this is strength belongs to my God.
That's the Ruach, right, Carolyn?
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting too, the phrase, and he shall pass over or like hand over his power, right? Um, it's a bar, the Hebrew 5674, and that is like, it's the verb to pass over. And let's see, I believe that's the phrase in Exodus 12. Yeah, yeah. Uh, I will pass over through the land of Egypt this night and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, against all the little g gods of Egypt, and I will execute judgment. I am Yahweh.
And then going into verses 12 and 13, Habakkuk is imploring to Yah, you know, are you not seeing this? Are you not going to do something? Um, you have, and I'm in verse 12, you have appointed them for right ruling, O rock, you have established them for reproof. And then in 13, you who,
Hold it,
yeah,
Christina, before you move on. Right there is more proof of what they've been talking about. You have appointed them for judgment. These fallen angels that are now gone completely off the rails, they were appointed for judgment. They were appointed to rule the nations in righteousness.
Hmm.
Psalm 82, Deuteronomy 32:8. And look what they've done with the nations, right? And that's what he's saying. Um, you have appointed them for judgment and you have marked them for correction. And he has been, if you go back to Psalm 82, he is warning them, if you keep ruling over them right like this, you will die like men. But he knew what they would do once he let them roll. And that's about what this time is coming when he's gonna pull back the reins on Satan and his fallen angels to just wreak havoc. So I just wanted to point that out. There's more evidence, right, of what the congregation of the gods are all about. He set the fallen angels over the Gentiles, and Israel was to be ruled. The Elohim of Israel is Yahusha. And then, of course, we're at the time where the last tribe left standing, the Yahudim, have now officially rejected Yahusha as their Elohim. So Yah is letting the consequences roll for that. And then, so that's the duality, and we are looking squarely right before the time when, again, Yah is gonna, the world has chosen its king and master, right? Satan. And Yah is about to remove the restrainer, and the consequences again are about to roll like they've never done before, like he's never allowed before.
and to back that up, when we go to Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 8, he talks about how the earth was divided up amongst these angels who were supposed to be guiding man as
He,
opposed to,
yeah, teach
yes,
correctly.
yes. So
But I
that,
will say, sorry, Christine, I just wanted to say you need to get the correct wording, you need to go to the Septuagint, the LXX. It's
yes.
been hidden in the Masoretic.
So that's Deuteronomy 32, 8, and mark in there in parentheses LXX. And when you do, go back to the Masoretic text and then cross out children of Israel and put in angels.
Yeah.
They did not want us knowing that there's a spiritual realm that is over us. which, definitely became very clear to me, that there are still a lot of people out there who don't believe in a spiritual realm. That if you can't see, taste, hear, smell, or feel it, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I have family members that say Satan isn't real.
Yeah,
Unbelievable. So if they don't even believe that, how are you going to get them to believe there's fallen angels ruling over the nations right now? But here's the biggest thing too. I'm convinced those well, some of them know who's going to replace them. The bride is going to replace them. So, Satan is trying to hide all this information, right? Because Paul clearly states that the bride will be judging angels. Which, pray tell, angels do you think she's going to be judging? The ones in Psalm 82 that have ruled the nations in unrighteousness.
yep.
So it's
And
pretty clear what's going on there, but it's been hidden. Sorry, Christina.
no, no, you make a perfect point. And to add to that, a lot of people's understanding, they don't understand who the bride is. Um, it's their understanding is convoluted with the people going out into the millennial reign. It's it's messy. Um, but yes, it is definitely the bride who will be doing, she will be doing the judging with Yahusha. Let's see.
Wait,
You,
Christina, I'm sorry.
yeah,
Before you move on from this, I just wanted to read Jeremiah 18, the potter and the clay. I'm starting at 1. The word which came to Jeremiah from Yahweh, saying, Arise and go down to the potter's house, and there I will cause thee to hear my words. Then I went down to the potter's house, and behold, he wrought a work on the wheels, and the vessel that he made of clay was marred in the hand of the potter. So he made it again, another vessel as seemed good to the potter to make. Then the word of Yahweh came to me, saying, O house of Israel, cannot I do with you as this potter, saith Yahweh? Behold, as the clay in this potter's hand, so are ye in my hand, O house of Israel. And what instance shall I speak concerning a nation, concerning a kingdom, to pluck up and to pull down and to destroy it? If that nation against whom I have pronounced turn from their evil, I will repent of the evil that I thought to do unto them. And what instance shall I speak concerning a nation and concerning a kingdom, to build and plant it? And if it do evil in my sight, that it obey not my voice, then I will repent of the good wherein I said I would benefit them. Now therefore go, speak to the men of Judah and to them of the inhabitants of Jerusalem, saying, Thus saith Yahweh, Behold, I frame evil against you and devise a device against you. Return ye now every one from this evil way, and make your ways and your doings good. So I just think that like so much duality there and connecting to this too about Yahweh can build things up, he can put people into power, and he can replace them is as he wishes because he's the potter. I just loved that.
Yeah, and we have free will to choose what kind of vessel we're going to be, right?
yes, we do. And then in verse 13, you whose eyes are too clean to see evil, you are not able to look on wrong. Why do you look on those who act treacherously? Keep silent when the wrong devours one more righteous than he. And it seems to me here that Habakkuk is wanting Yah to respond to what is happening on the earth. And in Habakkuk's eyes, Yah is ignoring it. And this is why he's asking what he is. Um, and I have I have with that 1 John 2:9, Luke 14:26, Zechariah 8:17, and Romans 9:13. And then
Christine, what was the Luke one again, please?
Luke 14:26.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then when we go into verse 14, and would you make men like fish of the sea, like creeping creatures that have no ruler over them? And as we've heard the Harari bald guy often say, is that we're animals having no dominion over this earth. When clearly, when Yah created the earth, it was for man to have dominion over it and the animals. But what they have done is they have equated us to the status of animals. The wicked foe has pulled all of them up with a hook, caught them in his net, and gathers them in his dragnet. Therefore, he rejoices and exults. So, again, we see this word net. Well, look at the world around us. We are caught up in a net. We are caught up in a network of Starlink. We are caught up in the network of the internet. We are caught up within the network of the medical industry. We are caught up in the network of the government. We are caught up within the network of mind control. There's so much more, but the enemy has created a snare, and we are literally in it, fighting our way out of it.
Hmm. Yeah, Kimberly basically wrote the same thing in the chat
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is,
Wow.
that is what it is. It's a snare. It's a net to catch.
And you nailed it, Christina. So what has Satan and his fallen angels done to people? He's removed the knowledge of who we are. We are Yah's children, made in his image, and far greater than most people have a clue what mankind is destined to be, right? I mean, and part of that is the globe, right? The globe lie. Most people literally think we're this floating planet out in the middle of vast nothingness, where at any time any asteroid could take us out, where at any time some aliens could land and wipe us out. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. Satan has stolen Yah's children's identity, just like he's done to the Israelites, but on a way vaster scale, right? We don't know Yah, we don't know who we are, we have no clue of what mankind really is.
It is that obsession and addiction of that Babylonian like astrology. Like
Yeah.
that's what that is there. Teach us the lie about space, and we've got them.
Right.
And
And
then
then
going,
back to where is Yah, right? Where is Yah in all this space and planetary stuff and galaxies and it's just, and boy, I tell you, you try to open somebody's mind on that and they get really, really angry at you.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
We're challenging reality, and that's
Hmm.
offensive.
It's kind of funny when my mind was still fixated on the globe. I'll never forget a conversation that I had with somebody, and he was asking me, well, where do you think God is? Because at that time, that's all I knew who Yah was. And I said, I don't know. He is far away. And I'll never forget the image that came up into my mind was I was outside in the realm of space, and Earth, the planet, was off to the side, and I had nowhere to go. I didn't know, I did not know where Yah was in all of this great space. He was lost to me.
Mm. You're in a
Lost in
vacuum.
space.
You lost.
Yeah, there you go.
That sounds like a
Very true.
movie.
Yeah. But ever
It's
since
crazy.
realizing, yeah, but ever since realizing that I don't live, I don't live on a globe, but I live in a snow globe, if you will, um, in a terrarium, an enclosed system. Now I know where Yah is, and my footing is solid. And that's what I love because I know that Yah sees me.
So,
He's literally very close.
yeah.
Yes.
So Luke 14:26. Oh wait, sorry, it's Luke. Did I? Oh, I'm reading Christina's reference from earlier. Matthew 13:47. And again, the kingdom of heaven, this is the opposite of what we're presented here, the snare set by Satan of this net that he has for us. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a net that was cast into the sea and gathered of every kind, which when it was full, they drew to shore, sat down, and gathered unto good into vessels, but cast the bad away. I'll read 49 too. So shall it be at the end of the world. The angels shall come forth and sever the wicked from among the just and cast them into the furnace of fire, where there shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. So good net versus bad net.
Yes.
And Yah's net always overrides Satan's net.
Praise Yah.
And that's why we don't fear, and that's why we trust in him.
Amen.
Yes. In verse 16, therefore he slaughters to his net and burns incense to his dragnet, for by them is his portion fat and his food is rich. So, just like the human beings do on the earth, I also believe that these angels are also slaughtering to Hasatan, because I do believe that Hasatan also gives them, again, there's a hierarchy here, and Hasatan is at the very top. And for these angels to receive what they want, I believe that human beings are continually sacrificed to Hasatan. And it's the same for man. They sacrifice their children, they sacrifice their family members for their own desires, if you will. So it's like this trickle down thing going on here. And it's ongoing. Think about all the wars. How many men were sacrificed and families that were destroyed because of these wars.
You know, and back to these fallen angels that rule the nations, many of the nations, especially in Canaan, that Israel had to conquer, they worship Baal. What did Baal require? Your firstborn be burned in the fire to him. Kill your own children. So, of course, these fallen angels require human sacrifices. It's shown us in scripture. They're just doing what they do. Yet people don't want to hear it. They can't fathom of it. It's right here in his word. They don't change. They've been doing it for thousands of years, and they're continuing to do it. Uh, Abortions, wars, it goes on and on. These children disappearing, people disappearing, you know. Anyway, we don't want to focus on that or, I mean, we're just going through the scriptures here, but how folks can deny it and it's been here the whole time.
Mhm.
Who is Baal? It's not
Yeah.
Satan, it's one of his fallen angels, one of his more powerful ones. But they're showing you their hand just straight up right there.
Yeah. Yah does not change, but Satan will allow a little wiggle room, whatever's more palatable to the next era, you know. He'll take sacrifices however he can get them, you know, maybe before it was done in the fire, but Satan doesn't care, you know.
Right. Blood. That's all they
Yeah.
want, blood and flesh.
Scriptures that I have with that are Job 21, 7 and 14. I have Proverbs 2:14 and Proverbs 12:12 and Jeremiah 5:26. And then again in verse 17, is he therefore to keep on emptying his net and killing nations without sparing? And this just reminds me of the leaders that have literally destroyed other nations. I think about Stalin, I think about Lenin, even our own presidents of the United States have not only destroyed what could have been really a really good thing in its own country, America, but they've gone outside of their own country and destroyed for their own gain. And it's even more so today. Um, all this land grabbing and everything going on. And
Yeah,
honestly,
sorry.
oh, I was just going to say, honestly, I really don't think there's going to be much left of America once Yah destroys it. There isn't going to be anything left to divide. So that's just my humble opinion.
Anything else before we go to chapter 2? All right, who wants to read chapter 2?
I'll read it unless someone else wants to.
Sounds good.
I will stand upon, I have, okay. I'm just going to read it how the KJV has it, and we'll talk about it later. I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower. I will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And Yahuwah answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run and read it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie, though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. I will not tarry. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. Yea, also because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desires as hell and as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gather unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booty unto them? Because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. Woe to him that covereth an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. Though thou hast consulted shame to thy house by cutting off many people, and hast sinned against thy soul. For the stone shall cry out of the wall, and the beam out of the timber shall answer it. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood, and establisheth a city by iniquity. Behold, it is not of Yahweh of hosts that the people shall labor in the very fire, and the people shall weary themselves for very vanity. For the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of Yahweh as the waters cover the sea. Woe unto him that give his neighbor drink, that puttest thy bottle to him, and make him drunk, also that thou may look on their nakedness. Thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of Yahweh's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory. 17. For the violence of Lebanon which shall cover thee, and the spoil of beasts which made them afraid, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, and of the city, and of all them that dwell therein. What profit the graven image that the maker thereof hath graven it, the molten image and a teacher of lies, that the maker of his work trusteth therein, to make dumb idols? Woe unto him that say to the wood, Awake, to the dumb stone, Arise, it shall teach. Behold, it is laid over with gold and silver, and there is no breath at all in the midst of it. But Yahweh is in the temple, in the set apart temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him.
You said you had something on verse
Well, I
one
mean,
there.
we talked about this. I will stand upon. It says my watch, but I was arguing it could be his watch. But then, if you think about it from Habakkuk, his watch is his appointed time on the watchtower to be telling the rest of the children of Israel what's up.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
his watch. But like we were talking about before we started this call, everyone in the kingdom is operating off of Yahweh's time and his calendar. And so that was the only thing that I was like, what watch are we talking about? Because the word my is inserted. But I think you could apply both and it both be true.
Yeah, because all the prophets watch, their time was Yah's time. There's no prophet of Yah that was on a different calendar than him. Just like the two final prophets will be telling the right calendar. So anybody out there that's confused, you won't be confused when they start speaking. So, um, so verse two, yeah, and like we've been saying as dual, in Habakkuk's day, it was, the destruction of the Yahudim, right? But in our day, of course, the vision is yet for an appointed time. So this great tribulation, obviously now nobody knows the day or the hour. Well, that's come to be true. It's an appointed time, but only he knows it. But he's saying, hey, it's coming. You better prepare. But verse 3, at the end, it will speak and it will not lie. In other words, everything I've said is coming and it's coming like a freight train. And here we go. Here's another second witness. Though it tarries, wait for it because it will surely come. It will not tarry. I know that seems like a contradiction, but I think when it actually does come, time is going to feel like it's going to slow back down, right? It's going to seem longer than he said. But again, to me, though it tarries, wait for it, is a second witness to Matthew 24. verses 20 through 21, where he talks about this time that has never been, no will it happen again either. And that's exactly what Habakkuk has described, um, that it will tarry, it will be delayed mercifully, because if he didn't back up what's coming, no flesh would survive. So,
In my version, the in the last sentence it says, "If it lingers, wait for it shall certainly come, it shall not delay." So I think delay would have been a better word if they would have used that
yeah.
at the very end.
Right. In
But
other words, it's going to come when Yah says it, and it's always been Yah's plan, but for whatever reason, um, he's hidden it from us all.
So I think the author of Hebrews, that the word tarry is used. So only for that reason do I like the word tarry, because the phrase in two back-to-back verses in Hebrews in chapter 10, he uses the word tarry, and he uses the phrase the just shall live by faith, that's found in verses 3 and 4 in second Habakkuk. But so I'm just going to read Hebrews 10 starting in 35. Cast not away, therefore, your confidence, which has great recompense of reward. For ye have need of patience, that after ye have done the will of Elohim, ye might receive the promise. For yet a little while, and he that shall come and will not tarry. Now the just shall live by faith. But if any draw back, my soul shall have no pleasure in him. So I think that he was referencing Habakkuk for sure.
Yeah.
I
I
know in the, I'm sorry. I know in
no,
the LXX version, instead of it, it says he and him.
I'm
Wait,
sorry, what phrase, Carolyn?
um, in the LXX, it says, wait for him, for he will surely come and will
Ah,
not tarry.
so you're
And
talking about verse 3 in chapter 2 of Habakkuk. It says, wait for it, but you think in the LXX it says him?
yes,
Awesome.
he and him.
Yeah, and that matches Matthew 24, right? The coming together his bride is specifically what he's talking about, because that kicks off the Great Tribulation.
And it's Matthew 24:22, and 22 makes me think of Gomul, and the word recompense of reward is used in Hebrews 10:35, which is the meaning of Gomul.
also I wanted to add Ezekiel 12:25 through 28, which has to do with delay. Uh, Beginning in Ezekiel 12:22, again, Gamul. Son of man, what is this proverb that you people have about the land of Israel, which says, "The days go by, and every vision shall come to naught"? Therefore say to them, "Thus said the Master Yahuwah, I shall make this proverb to cease, so that they no longer use it as a proverb in Israel. But say to them, the days have drawn near, as well as the matter of every vision. For no longer is there to be any false vision or flattering divination within the house of Israel. For I am Yahuwah, I speak, and the word which I speak is done. It is no longer deferred. For in your days, O rebellious house, when I speak the word, I shall do it, declares the Master Yahuwah. Again the word of Yahuwah came to me, saying, Son of man, see, the house of Israel is saying, the vision that he is seeing is for many days from now, and he is prophesying of times far off. Therefore say to them, Thus said the Master Yahuwah, none of my words are deferred any longer. When I speak a word, it is done, declares the Master Yahuwah. We also see this about the matter of delay in Revelation 10:6. So let's go there to Revelation 10:6. It says, and swore by him who lives forever and ever, who created the heaven and what is in it, the earth and what is in it, and the sea and what is in it, there shall be no further delay. So when Yah says it's going to happen and he makes it happen, he means it. And I believe that Father has already shown us, um, he has shown us the signs, if you will, of things spurring into motion.
Can somebody my verse 2 and John's is a little different. It says, and Yahuwah answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain on the tablets, that he who reads it may run. And I get it, they can run by reading the tablets, so obviously they can carry the tablets and run. That's how Linda's version, I think, was. But I know we read it that he who reads it, so the vision that's made plain on the tablets, when they read it, they may run.
I think when they hear what it's gonna be, they run.
Yeah, I think Linda's was a little different, so it kind of confused me. So,
Yeah, mine reads, and Yahuwah answered me and said, write the vision and inscribe it on the tablet so that he who reads it runs. And to me, this is after he reads the warning, he's running to go out to warn the other people. He's running because time is extremely short now and he needs to go and warn everybody what's going on. And I kind of feel like that's what's happening now. Everybody is warning each other of what they see. Hey, it's coming. Um, I do notice a lot of people out there realizing the hour that we're in.
Tracy, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Oh,
Oh, sorry. I was
no, I
just
just
gonna say, yeah, a lot of people see it even though they can't put their finger on it, or they just know in their spirit
mm,
something's up. I wanted to, so hey, Carolyn, this might be a good time, if you want to talk about the question you had for the time, half of time and dividing of time, if you want to bring
Yeah,
that up.
I was just looking at that, the times, and half a time, and you know, um, when you look up the number for time is the second definition of it could be season. So I was thinking that I wonder if it's time times a season, and to me, a season is 3 months. And if you take a half of a season, then that's only a month and a half. So you would have 3 years and 1.5 months instead of 3.5 years or three and a half or three and division, since I can't find a division in with Revelation 12:14 and Daniel, what, 7:12? I think it is. So yeah, when I was looking all those words up, trying to find division in any way to fit that in with those two scriptures, I got thinking. I came across the time with the different meanings, and season being one of the words there, and I thought, well, wonder if it's season instead of half a season instead of half a time.
Well, and technically, right, a season is a division of time. So the way I looked it up is Daniel 7, verse 25, and then there was another Daniel verse. Uh One of them, oh yeah, it was Daniel, was it 12?
12
So
something.
yeah, the Daniel 12, when it gives you the 1260, is a times time and half a time. But in Daniel 7:25, it was times time and division of time. So Revelation 12:14, it takes you back to Greek, which is harder to trace back to Hebrew because, I believe Revelation was originally written in Hebrew. So now you're at the mercy of the translators going to Greek. But just she was asking me, and I thought, well, it might be a good time to bring that out. That there, interestingly enough, in Daniel 12, when it talks about the 1335, the 1290, the 1260, it is specifically times time and half a time there. But when it talks about the saints being handed over to the beast, that was a different term. And it wasn't half, it was division, which could be less, right? But personally, again, I still believe it needs to be in spring because Song of Solomon chapter 2 says, Lo, winter is past. And then in the Gospels, it talks about summer being near. So that kind of homes you in. No, we don't know the day or the hour, but I think he has given us the knowledge of the year and the season, which is spring. But I agree with you, Carolyn, that a season is a division of time, which time means year.
Do either of you have the Septuagint version of Daniel 7:25? I'm curious if it reads the same in those two verses or those two chapters of Daniel.
I have the LXX for 25, and he shall speak words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and shall think to change times and law, and power shall be given into his hand for a time and times and half a time.
I believe, Linda, it reads the same,
Hmm.
but if you go back to the Blue Letter Bible, it's a different
Yeah.
Hebrew word.
Yeah. In okay.
But it does read the same. I
Okay.
went back and looked at that. It says half a time.
Yeah.
So they just translated it the same, but
Mm-hmm.
technically it's not, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But again, Carolyn, yes, seasons are divisions of time. So, but half would not be cut off in a season, right? Because the seasons are you're at three. Oh yeah, it would. It would be two seasons. Sorry. Half a time is two seasons. But yeah. But again, for the reasons I stated, I personally still believe that he's gonna cut it short, but it's still gonna be within spring of this year because of other scriptures. But am I absolutely sure? Absolutely not.
I am absolutely not sure.
Right. Any other thoughts on that?
Going into verse 5, and also because wine betrays him, a man is proud and he does not stay at home. That really, that phrase right there struck home with me. Thinking about the Rothschilds, thinking about these leaders who didn't stay at home. They had to go out and conquer everybody else because they wanted what they had. Um,
To Japheth,
yes,
taking over lands that were not theirs.
and it's still going today. Look at
Yes,
all the lands being stolen for their stupid data centers so they can poison our water, um, the land, and they're just taking it. They're using eminent domain in order to seize it.
right. And then I read, he gathers to himself all nations and heaps up for himself all peoples. So in my mind, I hear Satan and the beast. He wants to be, he wants this one world order, right? All nations, tribes, and tongues worshiping him, obeying him. Him meaning Satan and who has taken over the beast. So yeah, he's not going to be satisfied until he has the whole world under his thumb. But of
And
course, it's not going to work.
right. And then in verse 7, do not your creditors rise up suddenly, and those who make you tremble wake up, and you be plunder for them? Well, yeah. Um, how many people now that because they can no longer afford their homes, they've jacked up the taxes on the houses. Um, our taxes went up almost 200% since we bought our house. Other people, even though they've paid their houses off, their taxes are growing exponentially. Um, and then they're looking for ways to seize your um, to seize your other assets. Uh, I know I had seen something earlier this week in regards to being able to purchase any kind of land. You can't, you, they're, they have made stupid ordinances to the point where you can't build. You can't even build on your own land. Um, and I've also seen things with the tiny houses. They they put the they put so many what do you call those? Ordinances, but there's yeah, they put so many ordinances and so many the word expectation is wrong. I can't think of the legal term for it. But they put so much on top of building on your land that you're no longer free to do that. You can't build a home any way you like it. And kind of sidestepping a little bit here, I found out that the houses that they build today, they want it airtight, but that's not houses are supposed to be built. They're supposed to breathe. And for people who, live in the hot Southwest, there is actually a better way to cool your house besides using refrigerant or air conditioners. You actually use like a pipe that goes deep down into ground, and what it does is it pulls the cool air out of your basement or out of the ground underneath, and it pulls the cool air and it cools your house. And why some of these houses have different levels, people move through their house at different times of the day. So the hottest time of the day, you're down in your basement where it is coolest, but in the morning, you may actually be up in the topmost part of your house because all the warm air has collected up at the top. And then midday, you're you're hanging out um, in the middle portion, and then when it gets to the super hot, then it goes down. You go and you spend your time where it's coolest. But they've made it to the point where the correct way of building, you can't do that, an efficient way. And what they've done is they've taken the ability to be creative and how to use the energy wisely. They've taken that away from us. So everything that you do, you have to pay for. Everything, everything, everything. And I don't know why I got there, but oh, it's the creditors, right? So the
And it
creditors
makes
come
you
after you.
dependent on the system, right? That's their goal.
Yes.
Everybody has to be dependent on the system so they can control you.
Right. And it's also about controlling what you buy. If they don't like that you're going to go buy some pipe, they'll cut you off. I mean, this is absolute control. And if you do not obey, they cut you off. And if you owe, heaven forbid, they take your house and you're on the street. And from what I understand is happening, your credit score. Now, that's another thing. Do not your creditors rise up suddenly. This isn't just financial, this is also the credit system on how you live, right? Go into China and you've got cameras every which way. And
They're
you have,
here. They're
yeah, and you have a life credit score, right? So if you jaywalk, you're shamed by having your face put on a billboard. That's another type of creditor, if you will. And they take your points away. And if they still don't like how you're living your life, you lose everything and you're on the street. And it's turning out that a lot of people are living on the streets in China right now. Even though they don't show it, there's nothing being reported about it except for small channels that have become aware of it. Um, yes, they're rising up against the people and they're severely suppressing them and causing them to lose everything they have. So I think that's just where I was going with the crediting system, how the creditors suddenly rise up and they come against you and they plunder you because you're not living the way they want you to live.
Christina, what verse are you like working out of?
I am in verse 7, 2, 7.
Yeah, another point real quick. So Johnny and Tracy just put up there, reminded them of Trump and the Abraham Accords. And so he is really pushing to get these Abraham Accords signed because once that is signed, then I, following close behind that will be the Noahide laws. And it's just another control mechanism for the beast system, the spiritual side. So it's coming rapidly. And hey, Christina, don't forget, I want us to show, so that the Rev 2939 folks have elected their high priest. So it's pretty neat how that works into the calendar too. So
Oh,
before
yes.
Yeah, let's show that, we'll keep going and then get as far as we can. And then right before two, when we end, I'd like to flash that up on so everybody can see when that was done. That's interesting.
So,
Yeah.
real quick, I just want to go back to verse 6. Shall not all these take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him and say, woe to him that increases that which is not his, how long? And to him that laded himself with thick clay. I talked about this with another group. For some reason, I remember it being Carolyn. Correct me if I'm wrong, Carolyn, but we were talking about thick clay being national debt, like that this parable is about Assyria specifically, and that thick clay refers to debt. And the part that I remember Carolyn saying is that In Latin, the word mortgage means a death pledge. Was that you, Carolyn?
No, that wasn't me.
Who was that? Does anybody remember?
Mortgage, mortuary, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it is a death.
I mean, and our debt is like out of control because we have been programmed to covet and to consume. It
It
is,
might have been Michelle, because she was an American state. You see, she was from Canada, but she was learning all that too with
Mm.
the state nationals.
yeah.
Anybody got a quick answer? Sorry, go ahead,
Oh,
Rachel's.
Rachel, what do you think the mark of the beast is? Good question. I think it's just going to be a commitment to this system. Like there's going to
And it's a commitment to the religious laws, the money laws, all of it at once, you know.
Anything that keeps you in the system.
Yeah.
yeah, how it's going to get rolled out. I don't know.
I kind of think that digital ID, not that starting out, personally, I would not touch any of it with a 50-foot pole, but I'm not saying the digital ID itself is the mark, but y it's going to start out seemingly like a good thing, like oh, it's for your safety, right? Nobody can steal your identity anymore. Nobody can buy stuff on your credit anymore, this kind of thing. But that won't be the final. People will wander into the system, but will you take the vaccines they require? Will you worship on the day they require? Will you deny Yahusha's, et cetera, et cetera? At that point, if you refuse, then you haven't taken the mark, right? It's standing because in many ways, we already have a digital ID, don't we? Our social security number. I mean, you know, I'm not condoning, I don't plan to take anything. I'm just saying, just if somebody does, as long as they remain faithful and there's a line they won't cross, no matter if they turn all their money to zero and all this, they say, yeah, go ahead. I'm not changing my stance. Then you haven't taken the mark. Does that make sense?
I understood that the mark was either you have the mark of Yah or you have the mark of the
Yeah,
devil, whatever.
his
And
spirit. Yeah,
yeah, and since we know Hasatan, he provides a number of ways that will enter you into his. You'll be marked. You'll be marked how you live. You'll be marked how you. So that mark will really tell you. And I think that while we don't see on other people's heads or whatever right now, it'll be shown by where our our minds and
allegiance.
hearts are and what
Yeah,
our works are, which are our hands.
right.
And you'll be able to see, and you won't. And once they know this, you'll be branded by them in some way, so they know that you are not to be bought
Yeah.
or buying or
If
selling.
you don't take the mark, they will mark you, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, my thoughts are as long as you obey Yah, period, you're going to get kicked out of the B system and you won't be able to buy or sell. So ultimately, I think it's obedience to Yah. And if you obey Yah, you're not going to be able to do anything they require, ultimately.
Exactly. Yeah. Everybody's busy looking for a sign so they know not to take it. But I think that while they look for that sign, they're going to end up tripped up in falling into another snare of which will just lead them
Absolutely.
down. Yeah. I think that if
Absolutely.
I kind of gave up because everyone's like, oh, it's got to be this or this and this, and I'm thinking, you know what? I'm just going to keep my eyes on Yah because the more I do that, the less I'm enticed by
Yeah.
Satan.
if you are in the way with his spirit in obedience to him, you will not be taking the mark, period. So it doesn't matter. But if you are on the outside of Yah's will and his straight line, you will be duped into taking it, whatever it is. So yeah, that's a non-specific answer, but just obey Yah and you don't have to worry about it. You'll be in trouble with the system, trust us.
You can't serve two.
Masters, yep. Yeah, I have that in my notes too, Linda. That 6 through 8 is Assyria, basically the US. I mean, there's never been a creditor nation like us.
Mhm.
I mean, it's laughable, the debt when you add it all together.